I'd like to show you how profitable writing a weekly or even a daily newsletter can be. And I'd like to show you how easy it is. Now, I run a daily newsletter and I earn 4 figures a month from it. And you only have to work a couple of hours a week on it. If I can run a newsletter, so can you. The simple fact is, don't rely on an algo on social media when you can write and sell directly to your ideal readers and clients over email. That's what I do every week, and my story isn't unique. If you like the content, don't forget to hit subscribe. And you can also join my email list if you want to get insights for adding an extra 10k to your business. Just head over to briancollins.com. So this local newspaper laid off a journalist after 55 years. But now he's laughing. Now, I love this story because I was a journalist years ago. I was a broke one in my early 20s. I really struggled to make a living. That's why I love the story about Bob Dunning. He spent 55 years writing as a columnist for the Davis Enterprise. If you're not familiar with it, it's a newspaper in California. Now, Bob wrote a hugely popular daily column for his loyal readers. He covered topics, personal topics like his colonoscopy and dropping his youngest child off at college. This is the kind of personal stuff, personal content, the type of raw writing that AI can never generate. And it's the type of writing your readers and potential clients love. Now, when Bob turned 77, the newspaper laid him off without warning. No severance pay, no golden parachute, and no accumulated sick leave. As a former journalist, I was furious reading about what happened to Bob. And I've never even met the guy. He wrote on Facebook, "They took my very best for 55 years. They've no excuse for treating the longest serving employee in company history this way." Heartbreaking, right? Now, things get worse for Bob. After being laid off, he calculated how much he earned as the newspaper's most popular columnist. His rate, $26 an hour. Bob wasn't even close to earning as much as the highest paid writer in the newsroom. Much younger and less accomplished writers than him. Now, $26 an hour, that's okay when you're starting out as a writer or as a journalist or as a new content creator. But somebody at the top of their game, a columnist or a writer like Bob, they deserve far more pay than $26 an hour. Bob even explains how advertisers insisted on buying campaigns next to his column in the newspaper because his column was so popular, because so many eyeballs were on it. What is it about writers and creators not getting paid what they're worth? What is it about them working for $26 an hour or working for free? Accomplished doctors, architects, and scientists earn multiple 6 figures a year. It shouldn't be any different for writers and creators who attract the eyeballs of thousands of readers every day. And it doesn't need to be. In fact, if you need help adding an extra 10k to your business, head over to briancollins.com, BRYAN, and I'll give you some insights for thriving in the creator economy. Anyway, things worked out okay for Bob, thankfully. He wrote that post on Facebook and it went viral. Bob was so surprised by the reaction that he decided to launch a newsletter for his writing over on Substack.com. He launched a free and paid Substack publication and he brought his readership with him. Many of them loved Bob's writing so much that they decided to become paid subscribers. Now, Bob earns 6 figures a year from his newsletter, and he told Substack it's kind of like getting a raise every single day. I love this story about Bob because I've been laid off a few times in my writing career. One example, in my late 20s, I was working as a radio producer for a national news station in Ireland. Now, the job didn't pay well, but I kind of liked it. I got to write briefs for some of the feature shows on the station, and I also got to research and write news scripts. And there was something about radio that I always found captivating. In fact, much later I'd go on to start a podcast. Anyway, one day the station manager was happy with my work, so he offered me a new contract, and I was delighted because I was in my late 20s at the time. 5 days later, they laid me off. Couldn't believe it, laid off after 5 days. Now, clearly a big difference exists between me getting laid off in my 20s and Bob getting laid off aged 77. But Bob's story, Bob starting a paid Substack publication, shows what's possible for writers, for creators who own the relationship between themselves and their readers and their clients. Don't let anybody own this on your behalf. I love reading stories about writers and creators. Writers and creators like Bob living on their own terms. No gatekeepers, no handcuffs, and no corporate employer evaluating what your words and ideas are worth. Point here isn't that you need to quit your job today and fire up a paid Substack publication like Bob. Instead, don't rely on one employer or a gatekeeper to publish and vet all of your work and all of your writing. Don't let anyone own the relationship between you and your readers. Every working writer should have an email list, whether it's on Substack or some other platforms. You need a way of funneling your readers into your email list. And then you need to create a product or a service that you can sell to a select group of subscribers. It could be a paid version of your newsletter, it could be coaching or consulting, but it's something you own and control, which nobody can ever take away from you. You don't even need to sell it to everyone. Only a few select people are enough to earn a good living. That's the business model I'm currently following. You see, I abandoned my journalism career when it didn't work out, and I made a good living publishing SEO optimized articles and blog posts. For a few years, I wrote these articles myself. And then when I started to get more traffic, I commissioned help from a team of freelance writers. And in return, my site got millions of page views, mostly from search traffic. Now, getting millions of page views might sound like a lot, but not when you compare it to big media. That said, more page views meant more ad revenue, which meant more profits for me. It was a simple but straightforward business model. Thankfully, at the same time, I was still growing my email list. I was still growing my newsletter using pop-up boxes and opt-ins on my site. I gave away templates, tools, checklists, and even a free book. Looking back, I probably gave away too much value, but I managed to attract hundreds of new subscribers every month. And I started my newsletter by sending a weekly email to these subscribers. I didn't spend too much time on the email at first. It contained links to a few random articles on my site, the occasional promotion for a course, and a YouTube video like this one. This year, I've changed my entire content strategy to focus on running a profitable newsletter. I won't lie, my hand was forced. In late 2023 and early 2024, Google changed its algo in favor of its big media friends at Forbes, Condé Nast and Reddit. And it took away a lot of search traffic from smaller publishers like me. I kind of faced the equivalent of what Bob did at the Davos Enterprise. Watching my web traffic drop, I felt like Google had set my business on fire. I didn't have the same budget for commissioning more articles, and I was sick and tired of being reverse engineered by copycat website owners fired up with the latest AI bot. So I started to explore how other creators are earning a good living online. And many of the ones that I admire, many of the ones that are earning a good six-figure living, write and send a weekly or even a daily email. It's something they invest their creative energy and time in. So I figured, why not? And I was pleasantly surprised to find that writing a daily email is fun. I spend about 30 minutes every morning researching and writing my daily newsletter. It doesn't take me too long to knock one out because I've gotten into the habit of doing it. Now, optimizing articles for search, on the other hand, that was a slog. You see, Google has strict and ever-changing guidelines about what you can and can't do in your content. And I don't like being told what I can and can't do, and my traffic being taken away from me at a whim. Crafting a daily email is also a good form of writing practice. In my newsletter, like Bob, I can touch on multiple topics that interest me and my readers. Topics like marketing, creating high converting offers, and writing online. Sending a daily email, running my newsletter also unlocks more opportunities for connecting with readers and clients. I hear from subscribers every week who want to learn more about earning a living online. Writing a daily email means I have plenty of content that I can repurpose for social media too. I can spend 30 minutes writing my email, and then I can repurpose it for multiple networks in multiple different ways. It only takes me an extra 5 or 10 minutes. And I found that some of the ideas in my newsletter work quite well for LinkedIn, and LinkedIn helps me grow my newsletter, so it's kind of like a virtuous circle. Now, it hasn't happened overnight, but running a newsletter business is slowly increasing my revenue. I haven't quite replaced the drop in ad revenue, but these days I'm working more and more with sponsors, and I have more chances to promote and sell my products and services. So does all of this mean you should run out and start a daily email? Well, it depends on how quickly you can write, the size of your list, and what you sell. It also depends whatever else you're doing in your business or personal life. The other day, I was coaching a part-time content creator. He asked me if he should start a daily newsletter. I suggested he might struggle to find time to write a daily newsletter, but he could start with weekly. A few days ago, I also coached a full-time content creator. She has a list of over 1,000 subscribers and lots of great content on her site. She also has products and services that she's just not selling enough of. She absolutely should send more emails. Look, creating more content, whether it's a daily newsletter or on social media is never a bad thing, provided you have a strategy for monetization. That's what Bob had when he turned on paid subscriptions over on Substack. So what are your best options for starting a newsletter? I was chatting with a client there recently and he wanted to start writing online, but he was worried about all the technical headaches and he didn't have a website that he wanted to run. So I recommended starting with Substack. There's no tech, it's free, it's easy to use, and you can grow your newsletter organically thanks to the recommendations built into the Substack platform. In fact, I use Substack happily for a year or two. If you're a little bit more advanced, if you've more to sell, and if perhaps you have a website, consider ConvertKit. That's what I use, that's what I run my newsletter business with. I use it because I sell products and services, and I use it because it works nicely with my website, which gets thousands of page views every month. And let's face it, I need to turn some of those page views into subscribers. I'm also a big fan of the team of ConvertKit because they regularly hook me up with sponsors for my daily newsletter. All I have to do is review the terms and click accept. In fact, just a few days ago, I got paid over $500 for writing and sending one email to my list. One email that I was going to send anyway. If you're interested in learning more about how I use ConvertKit to connect with sponsors, I have another video on the channel where I explain how I got paid, so head over and check that out. Now, ConvertKit is also free to start with, but if you don't have a website or you don't have a funnel or lots of products, just use Substack for now. Think of it as like practicing in public. You can worry about the tools and tech later. If you've got questions about starting a newsletter business, let me know in the comments section below this video. And if you want to get some insights for adding an extra 10k to your business, head over to briancollins.com and hit subscribe. Oh, and if you did like the video, don't forget to smash the bell.